Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Tonight's episode is a little different. We're not discussing the latest political mudslinging, congressional gridlock, or ridiculous social media arguments. Instead, we're here to celebrate and say farewell to the 39th President of the United States, the one and only Jimmy Carter, who has passed away. Now, I know what you're thinking. A Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia? Yes, that same peanut farmer who became the leader of the free world has finally hung up his tool belt after a lifetime of service. Let's talk about it. Carter's story was the kind of biography even Hollywood couldn't make up. He literally went from peanut farming to the Oval Office. Talk about a glow up. It's like going from your high school's JV bench warmer to winning the NBA Finals MVP, except in this case, the MVP stands for Most Valuable Peanut Farmer. And let's not forget, the guy was so modest, he made plain white bread look spicy. He turned humility into a superpower. Like, who knew that quietly telling the truth and wearing a cardigan could be so radical? And of course, let's be honest, Carter's time in office was not all peaches, peanuts, and cream. The man inherited an economy that couldn't decide if it was going backward or sideways. We had long lines at gas stations, the Iran hostage crisis, and something called malaise. I always thought malaise was a fancy French dish, but apparently it's when the whole country feels like they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But you know what Carter did? He threw on his best sweater, told us to conserve some energy, and tried to talk us through our national blues. Sure, half the country said, "No, we're good," but at least he tried the direct, heartfelt approach. That's more than we can say for many folks who'd rather blame the neighbor's dog. Here's the real gem. Jimmy Carter had the most impressive post-presidential run of all time. Once he left the White House, it was like someone handed him a new job description. World's nicest superhero. He built homes with Habitat for Humanity into his 90s. Yes, in his 90s. He was basically Superman with a hammer and an unstoppable sense of service. He championed human rights, tackled disease through the Carter Center, and made monitoring global elections seem like a weekend hobby. Somewhere along the line, the Nobel Committee said, "Sure, let's give him a peace prize." And the rest of us said, "Of course, who else do you give it to?" So how do we properly say goodbye to a man who reminded us that kindness can, in fact, coexist with politics? A man who tried to bring honesty back to Washington, even if Washington wasn't always ready for it. Jimmy Carter taught us that the simplest acts, listening, caring, swinging a hammer, can sometimes move mountains. Even if you're the president, you're never too important to roll up your sleeves and get to work, especially if it's for a good cause. Now, obviously, nobody's perfect. But Carter was that rare breed of politician who wasn't afraid to admit mistakes and who went out of his way, like literally with a tool belt, to fix what was broken, whether it was a foreign policy problem or a rundown house. Tonight, we tip our hats and peanut shells to the life and legacy of a man who made humility cool, who reminded us that integrity matters, and who believed we could all do a little better if we worked together. So long, Mr. President. Rest easy. And if heaven needs a little extra carpentry work, we know you're already on a tool belt strapped on, that trademark grin on your face. Thanks for everything, Jimmy, and thank you all for joining us on this special tribute edition of Kleppers Corner. Let's keep his spirit alive by finding small ways to help each other to build something better, one nail, one handshake, one honest conversation at a time. Good night, everybody. Hug your loved ones, volunteer if you can, and in the spirit of Jimmy Carter, maybe plant a peanut or two.